Flocks of sheep have been roaming these mountains that border modern France and Spain for more than 5,000 years. And they produce a milk which is also responsible for one of Europe's oldest cheeses, Onghiatori Ossau Iraty. Welcome to the Basque Country.
The Basque region lies in the northern Pyrenees between the borders of modern France and Spain. The people here have a proud heritage and still insist on speaking their own language, which dates back more than 4,000 years. This region enjoys a superb variety of signature dishes and traditional foods, including a diverse range of fresh seafood, charcuterie, dried hams, and of course, cheese. I'm here to learn more about why the Basque is a very special place when it comes to used milk cheese. There's no mistaking the Basque, or the region's pretty whitewashed houses with their terracotta roofs and bright red shutters. But more unusual is that in this part of the Basque, the houses are decorated with garlands of red peppers hung on long cords to naturally dry in the sun. The mild, slightly fruity red peppers originally came from Mexico with the Spanish in the 15th century, and the slightly acidic soil and climate of this part of the Basque proved perfect for their cultivation. Known as the piment Espelette, they've since been adopted as the star ingredient of many local dishes, including the cheese.
I'm staying here in the pretty village of Espelette in the heart of the Basque region. This place is famous for peppers and, believe it or not, for smuggling. Just down the road from here is a market where I'm hoping to discover some great local produce.
The village market is an important centre for displaying local produce and delicious seasonal treats. And for my introduction to the region's cheeses, I ask a friend of mine for some help.
Look at these. These are peppers.
Nice, huh? You want to smell?
Peo is the manager of Agour Cheese, a family-owned dairy which makes a range of traditional used milk cheeses. He's proudly Basque and makes the perfect guide.
We speak probably the oldest language in Europe, one of the oldest in Europe, and this language is in danger. And if we lose our language, we lose our ability to be Basque. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is our willingness to be recognized as a country by itself, by the rest of the world.
So, are these markets important for small producers?
Yes, it's very important because Espelette is a very well-known village. A lot of tourists come here, and it's also an important village for its inhabitants itself. So small producers come here to show their production and to sell it.
This one here?
Yeah.
It's good. It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what about these down here with the geotrichum mold? Are they traditional from this region?
No, they are more new products.
Can I buy one of those?
Yeah.
You ask her to buy one.
Menuke baino erosi. Baino nahi nuke erosi. Which one do you like?
The little, maybe the croton.
Hori. Ez, hau. Hartuko dutzu. And this is made with blackhead manesh.
Ah, blackhead manish. So the high mountain ones.
Yeah.
Peo explained that each valley once had its own version of this used milk cheese, which is generally sold today under the name of Adi Gazna. local farmers have an irreverent attitude to authority and regulations, and these cheeses come in all shapes and sizes, and of course, different qualities. But the official appellation name of the ewe's milk cheeses in this part of Basque is Ossau Iraty, and it's produced by 6 commercial dairies, including 2 which use raw milk. The name Ossau Iraty isn't very old. In fact, it only goes back to the 1980s. It's a combination of 2 cheeses, those from Ossau in the Bern region, which have a slightly rounded edge and around 3.54 kilos, and those from the North Basque or Iraty region, which are slightly smaller and have this straight edge. But the fascinating thing about both these cheeses, which are of course made from ewe's milk, is that when they're served in restaurants, they're always served with cherry jam. The practice of enjoying cheese and jam together goes back centuries and probably began as a way of masking the flavour of bad or bland cheese. All Ossau Iraty cheese is made exclusively from the milk of indigenous red or black-faced Mannock ewes, which produce milk on a seasonal basis from December until the end of July. The red-faced breed are kept in the valleys, whilst the more hardy black-faced breed are taken to graze the mountain pastures and produce a higher protein milk in less volume. The best Ossau Iraty is made here high in the mountains. Until about 30 years ago, shepherds used to drive their flocks up here in May and milk them until July, making this Iraty cheese. But today, there are less than 10 families still doing it. Traditionally, the shepherds made cheese every day whilst the ewes were lactating in spring and early summer. And the isolated mountain huts were organised by a syndicate and passed down through the generations.
They are shepherds, but they are shepherds who don't own any land, so that they have to live in 2 different places. They live 6 months down in the valleys and 6 months up on the hills, because having no land of their own, they come here, which is owned by the country, and they can live 6 months here on the grass grown in the mountains. From times on, it was always the second son of the family who was the shepherd. The eldest took the farm, and the second came to the mountain. But as he came to the mountain and did not live in a place you see here today, which is very, very comfortable, it was little, very small huts with no comfort at all, so no women would go.
With only a few basic services and very isolated conditions, it's not surprising that young people have become increasingly reluctant to take up the harsh, lonely work of shepherding.
Janine is the first woman who has come to live in the mountain with her husband as a shepherd. She's had to make her own place, but then she doesn't have any time to wonder what she's going to do, because there are lots of things to do. And among those things is growing a vegetable garden, which keeps them having very good vegetables all year round.
And also here you have other animals apart from sheep.
They have, except for the sheep, they have pigs, chicken, and of course dogs and cats. And a few rabbits, because as she says, have to go down with them and up with them when they come back.
Once the fresh milk has been collected in buckets, it's carried to a small room that serves as the dairy, and Janine begins making cheese. The warm, fresh milk is first strained through a muslin cloth before being poured into a small rectangular vat. Calf rennet is added and the milk is left to set under its own heat whilst the family enjoy a quick breakfast.
Oh, that probably goes to the pig.
40 minutes later, the curds have set, and Janine cuts and stirs them before placing them in cloth-lined hoops. They are then pressed before being brined overnight. Janine marks the day of production on each cheese before they're carefully stored away.
Le mois, mai, le 13.
I'm in San Sebastian, the gastronomic heart of the southern Basque. The food here is totally different to the northern Basque, and this town is famous for its tapas bars, its nightlife, its salted cod, and of course this wonderful promenade.
For centuries, San Sebastian was little more than a fishing village. But today it's developed an international reputation as a sophisticated seaside resort. Not far from the beautiful beach and promenade lies the old town centre, which boasts the greatest concentration of small tapas bars I've ever seen. And the locals here really like to welcome their visitors with a glass of wine poured from a great height.
I could definitely get used to this lifestyle.
The Basque have a long historical seafaring tradition and were once regarded as the finest cod and whale fishermen in Europe and controlled the trade in salted fish. So it's hardly surprising to find that seafood forms one of the staples of local cuisine, including many of the tapas served in San Sebastian. A short drive into the hills that surround this beautiful town brings you to the village of Idizabial, which also lends itself to another very significant Basque cheese. The name of the village is connected to the cheese because it was once the local shepherd's market. Unlike its cousin Ossau Iraty, this cheese can only legally bear the name Idizabial if it's made from raw milk. After brining, it's matured for a minimum of 2 months and is sometimes lightly smoked over beechwood to replicate the smoky flavour of the traditional cheeses once matured in remote shepherds' huts high in the mountains.
This is the famous game, Basque Pelote. And the red team are sponsored by Ossau Iraty. You know, it's the first time I've ever seen cheese support a major national sporting event. And you never know, it could be the start of something big.
This version of pelote involves hitting a small rubber ball with the palm of your bare hand. It seems a very odd game, and you have to be tough and committed, as most players end up with broken fingers after a few years of competition.
Cora Eskelgunak, we won!
After spending some time in this autonomous region, it's clear the people who live here share a proud, dynamic spirit and a great sense of their own cultural identity. This proud people is used to challenges and overcoming obstacles.
Our company was created now 25 years ago by my father, and the story of this company is the story of a challenge. When he decided to create Agour, he proposed to 50 farmers to make the cheese. He said, I know how to make the cheese, I know how to sell it, but I don't have any money. So if you accept, you give me your milk and I pay it once the cheese sold. And 25 hands went up and said, yes, we want to continue with you this adventure, and everything started like this.
We have two vats, in fact. One of 6,000 liters, the other one of 4,000 liters. It helps us to adapt to the season of milk, because when the milk starts at the beginning of December, there is not a lot of milk, so we can work with the small vat of 4,000, in which we can transform 2,000 minimum, and also at the end of the season, we can work with a small one. And at the peak of the season, we can work with both.
And this milk, how old is it?
This milk is 48 hours old, maximum, which is the maximum also right by Ossau Iraty. This will be a pasteurized milk, but for the raw milk cheese, we only use 24 hours milk, so only 2 milking in it. And the speed you have to cut this curd is also very important.
And then after this, it's heated up to release more whey.
Exactly. Yeah.
We always have tried to overpass the standards of the Ossau Iraty. For instance, we were the first one to launch the 6 months matured, now 12 years ago, which is twice as much matured as the basic Ossau Iraty. We also are one of the only factory to only work natural rind cheeses. And now we have launched 4 years ago the raw milk project, which represents 30% of our current outlet, which is increasing very fast. And this is really the biggest project of our history. Raw milk cheese maintains all the qualities of the milk without cutting anything in the milk. So, and also in our project, for the shepherds that accepted to enter in this group, they had to engage themselves on specific rules, basically on the feeding of the sheep, that makes milk much better than the classical milk destined to pasteurization.
And you've also developed another very interesting product around here using local Espelette peppers. Tell me something about that.
Yeah, traditionally Espelette pepper was used to protect Bayonne ham from mold, and we decided why not to try it on cheese, because it works as a natural preservative of the rind, and it also gives a very nice looking to the cheese. That's why we started to use Espelette pepper on the rind of the cheese.
The largest cooperative dairy in the Basque region is called Onatic, which represents 650 small farmers. Apart from Ossau Iraty, this dairy also produces an excellent used milk blue cheese, known as Bleu de Basque.
This is in fact a cooperative of 650 producers who decided to collect together the milk to transform to make principally two cheeses, which are Ossau Iraty and Black Tom of the Pyrenees, and now the Bleu de Basque. The blue cheese is our third production. It's 250 tons per year. The France is our first market, but the export market is growing every year. And it now represents maybe 30% of the export market.
And what does the cheese taste like?
Oh, the cheese is very particular. There is no comparison. Of course, you could taste it to understand, but it's really, really new cheese.
The used milk cheeses of the Basque date back to ancient times. When you spend time with these proud, independent people, it's easy to understand why their language, culture and cheeses have endured. It seems certain they will remain a potent symbol for the future.